Welcome to Behold. Today, Craig and I are going to respond to episode 1 of The Anxious Generation. So if you haven't watched or listened yet, go back, take a listen, because in this episode, we're going to think about all that data we talked about, the info, and kind of answer the so what. What do we do now? How do we respond? How do we parent in a digital age in a way that's beneficial, in a way that has faith over fear, and that honors and glorifies God? Here we go. Hey, Craig.
How you doing?
Well, I'm a little sad
Why?
because you're going on sabbatical for 2 months.
Let's just pause. Let's just pause for a moment and ponder what that means. I will not be around for 2 months. Staff will be running in the hallways.
No, we'll all be in our offices crying.
Yeah, okay.
Craig's gone.
Yeah,
What are we
right.
supposed to do? Well, I got you a present.
You did?
These are sabbatical survival supplies.
Really? I didn't even know that. Really? Okay, all right.
Hopefully I got all the right kinds.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Peanut
Real
butter
peanut.
pretzels.
Oh, okay, peanut butter. All right, got it.
Unfrosted.
Unfrosted, which is the best kind.
I was going to get you the small box, but they didn't have a small box of unfrosted.
Nor should they. Oh my goodness. What do you want me to gain 50 pounds? Cherry pie. JJ's Bakery. I've never heard
Me
that
neither.
before. Oh,
That's what they had.
it looks good.
Okay.
That might not make it to sabbatical. But thank you.
You're welcome.
Debbie did not see any of this. None of this. Debbie doesn't know anything about it. Oh, those I might bust those open too here, please. Why don't you go ahead and have just a podcast?
No, please don't chew in the microphone again.
You love that.
We already did that.
You love that. Well, thank you very much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that. No, we're looking forward to it.
Yes.
For those of you who might just be new to this, a policy at Arcade Church is that executive staff like Beth and me and several others were given the privilege of every 5 years sabbatical. And it's where we can just peel away, no deadlines, no pushing content. And a lot of times we will, take a class. Sometimes we write, sometimes we read, sometimes we just do
Chill,
nothing.
yeah.
Chill. So I'm looking forward to that. I've got a big reading list. I told you what I'm going to do, and I've signed up, or I'm about to sign. I haven't signed up yet. I will sign up for a sketching class.
I love it.
I really like urban sketching.
Yes.
And I thought, I can draw a straight line, I think. And that's really what urban sketching is. And so I've signed up for an urban sketching class online.
I've signed you up for a handwriting class. I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah. Well,
This is Dr. Craig Hardinger, and he writes like a doctor. So
And you, probably
I'm
you
teasing.
and Debbie and Kim, or Kelly Burns
Yes.
are the only ones that can read whatever. And I try my best.
I know.
I just can't do it.
it's okay.
Yeah.
You can type.
I do better with crayons. Much better. So,
Okay.
anyway.
Well,
But thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's very cool.
we will miss you.
Yeah. I miss
I
you
will.
guys.
I will miss you. I can't speak for.
But the podcast will go on.
It will.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have
That's
some
right.
ideas about
Yep.
what we're going to do
Yep.
without you.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
But
looking
I'm
forward
excited
Yep.
to keep going.
Yep.
So, this is part 2.
Yep. Part 2.
So if you haven't watched or listened to part 1, hit pause.
Yes, that's very important. Hit
Go
pause.
back.
Yeah.
Listen to part 1.
And I was thinking about this too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interrupting. I'm sorry, but man, if you're part of a gather group, or if you got a friend group and you're all about the same age, young parents or
Yeah.
whatever, take the time to listen to the podcast, first episode, and then this one. Not that we've got all this stuff, but we spend the time to read and research and all that kind of stuff. And what we've come up with, I think, is very interesting. And I would want to know that if I was a younger parent.
Yes.
I really would. And we're both kind of out of that
Yes.
a little bit.
A lot.
But I'm thinking of my kids and their kids, and I want them to know these things.
Yeah.
And so maybe you've got a friend group that you can listen to this together and then have a good conversation afterwards. I think it'd be beneficial.
So a quick recap.
Okay.
Smartphones and the digital age have produced in young people sleep deprivation, social deprivation, attention fragmentation, and addiction. And along with that, mental health issues, depression, emergency visits for
Yes. Yeah.
psychological issues,
Self-harm.
self-harm, suicidal ideation, et cetera, et cetera.
And once again, years ago we thought, yeah, there's got to be a correlation
Right.
here. But with the newest research, and because I think you said last episode that the Gen Z has been the lab rat for the smartphone.
Yes, yeah.
And so now the results of that, and there's a direct causation from having smartphones at too early of an age
Yeah.
and all of the things you just listed off. There's a causation for that.
Right. And on top of this digital age issue, parents and society have decided it's much more dangerous for kids to play outside semi-supervised
Yeah.
or unsupervised than to be on their
Yeah.
phones or iPads
Yeah.
unsupervised.
Yeah.
Just remember this. When you give a kid a smartphone, you're not only giving them access to the internet, you're giving the internet access to them.
I love it the way you said that, because I'm not sure that was in the book, but that is, I mean, think about that, mom and dad. You're giving the internet access to your child's mind and their heart. And you mentioned last episode that studies are showing that pre-adolescents especially, their minds are wet cement where you can etch things in those and they last forever.
Yeah.
So this is not just a matter of leisure. It's not just a matter of pleasure. It's a matter of training for our children.
Yeah.
It's very, very
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
important.
Also, kids are digital natives. We are not.
We are not.
Very few parents are digital
wow.
natives, right? You can just watch someone Gen X and older with a device.
Are you Gen X?
I'm Gen X.
Yeah.
I mean, we got people with their iPads filming, right? You just know. Like, you can tell a digital native a non-digital
I have so done
native.
that. I've done that with my iPad.
Craig.
I know. And then I found out that is really a social
Old.
faux pas.
No, it's old.
And so I quit doing it. I quit doing it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So because of that, they're able to work around our boundaries.
Yeah. Right.
So even the best kids, so one of my kids had some company over, and they got on the laptop and they went on this website that was chat with strangers. That
Whoa.
was the goal, and they put in their favorite boy band, and they're like, "It's okay, Mom. We're just chatting with people who like the same boy band as us." And I'm thinking to myself, why don't you just wave a flag like, "Hee-hoo, pedophile over here."
Yeah.
Right? So these good kids are doing something they see as innocent.
Yeah.
And because of their innocence, they don't understand the risk they're putting themselves
Absolutely. In fact, Jonathan Haidt, I haven't recommended it yet in this episode, Anxious Generations, where we're getting a lot of the data for this. I recommend that you read this, especially if you're parents or grandparents and you're involved with your kids. In this book, Haidt mentions a testimonial of a young woman who became addicted to porn.
Right.
And she's writing in a very clever way. I'm going to butcher it, but she's saying, here I am, I'm 15 years old, I've got full access to the internet, and I go on to a porn site, free porn site. I just find it somehow, go on to this, and I'm looking at porn, and all the while my mom is in the next room who's adamant to give me 7 different vegetables every meal because she cares about my body, and yet she's allowed me to be on this porn site and doesn't even know it.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my goodness, how many of the parents have experienced that?
Right.
And that could have been my story. I don't know.
Right.
I wasn't raised, obviously, with a smartphone, but if it's accessible and it's couched as pleasure, I'm going to find it.
Right.
And so it's very, very important that we watch that stuff.
Yeah. So before we get to the suggestions, not in this book, but some we have as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what putting up some boundaries is going to take.
Okay.
Because it's gonna take some effort, right?
Yeah.
First of all, it's gonna take a community working together to benefit the children and young people in their circles.
Yeah.
For instance, if you're a young parent, start having these conversations with your friends, like
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned. Decide ahead of time
Mm-hmm.
what's right for you individually, but also for you as a group,
Yeah.
right?
And two, a lot of that is because, especially if your daughter is 13 or 14 years old and you take away their smartphone or you refuse to give them a smartphone, their biggest complaint with that is going to be, all my friends have smartphones. And so as a parent, it might be that you need to seek out a community of like-minded parents, and they're out there
Yes.
in the public sector as well as the private sector, and find a way. How can we help our kids away from that idea of social isolation,
Right.
when it comes to that?
Right. And speaking of that, it's going to take parents resisting that peer pressure.
Yeah.
Whether it's from their peers or their kids getting the peer pressure. All my friends, I'm the only one. Why are you treating me like a baby? You know.
And let's face it, yes, our kids want to be the cool kids on campus.
Of course.
But mom and dad, you want your kid to be a cool kid on campus too.
Yeah.
And a lot of times parents will do whatever it takes to ensure that their children are popular.
Yeah.
And the smartphone is the absolute worst thing that you can do. And the data is there. I'll say it this way. The science is there.
Yeah.
To show that there is a causation from mental health issues and the use of smartphones for young people.
Yeah. Okay, I'm stealing this one from Debbie because I've heard her give this advice.
Yeah, yeah.
You need to parent from faith and not from fear.
Yeah.
I heard her give that in like a school choice
Yeah,
topic. But
yeah.
this is, you know what? It's okay to let your child out of sight sometimes.
Yeah,
God's got them,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Parent from faith and not fear.
Let them play, and unless they're going to their friend's house who
Yes.
has a smartphone, you know, and then you just got to be careful about that. But let them play, let them ride their
Yes.
bikes and skateboards, and yeah, they might break their arm, but that's better than having their mind completely ruined
Yes.
because of whatever's going on the internet.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we need to keep an eye out for the safety of all children.
You know, I saw that you put that down, and my initial reaction it was wrong.
Okay.
But my initial reaction is that's not realistic.
Okay.
But we need to make it realistic.
Yes.
And I think that's your point.
Yeah.
Because I used to be a coach. I coached 7th grade boys baseball.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what, if you get on little Johnny
Yeah.
because he's acting up, I'm going to get a call from a parent.
Yeah.
If I tell somebody else's kids to be quiet, or if I tell somebody else's kids to not do that, I'm going to have a parent in my face.
Right.
Because how dare you talk to my child
Right.
that way? And we've got to get over that.
Yeah.
Especially in a church community. I'm grateful, as my son was growing up within the church, that there were men and women who, yes, policed him
Yes.
and got in his face, not because he's a pastor's kid, but because they saw Scott do
Yeah.
some things that were bad.
Yep.
In fact, I remember when Scott got his license, he was 16,
Yeah.
and he went up and he was talking to one of the guys in the church at the time. His name's Mel. If you're listening, Mel, you've been a faithful friend to us. And Mel told him, I say, Scott, if I see you around town speeding, I'm going to tell your mom and dad.
Oh.
He said, I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know up front.
Yep.
I love you, and I'm so glad that we're buds. But if I see you doing something reckless in a car, I'm calling your mom and dad. And I love that.
You know, speaking of that,
Yeah.
when my oldest was in high school, a Arcadian kid went to high school with her.
Yeah.
And I saw him riding his bike home with his helmet dangling from his handlebars. I called his mom. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
just so you know,
Yeah. Exactly.
he has his helmet,
You
but he's
can do
not
what you want with
wearing.
this.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's not wearing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to do more of that.
Yeah.
And if someone is criticizing my son, they're not criticizing my parenting. They're saying, you need to know this.
Yeah.
And I think we've moved away from that.
Yeah.
In fact, in your department, sometimes you guys have to weigh that.
Yes.
Or we have got to, okay, little Johnny is acting up, but little Johnny is acting up because mom and dad act up.
Right.
And when we talk about little Johnny, and they'll get offended.
Right.
And so you have to weigh the cost of that.
Yeah.
And you guys are great about it.
We
But
do our best.
yeah, but that happens.
Yeah. So we have to keep an eye out.
Yeah.
We have to, if we're going to allow our kids to ride their bikes or walk to the library, we have to be the eyes
Yeah.
for other
Yeah.
parents, right?
And I would be grateful for that
Yeah.
as a parent.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that there are other adults looking out for my kid when I'm not around.
Me too. Me too, for sure.
Mhm.
And then lastly, you're going to have to set boundaries or rules for your family and then stick to them.
Mhm.
And when your kids say why or how come or it's not fair, have good answers for them.
Mhm.
Every once in a while, I told you so or because I said so
Mhm.
is an okay response.
It is.
But
Big fan of that. Yeah.
if your child is saying, well, why can't I have?
Mhm.
Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
love you
Mhm.
and because I care for you and because I want you to be healthy.
You know what? If I had turned the clock back and smartphones came on when Scott was in college, and so we never had issues because he was always away. But if I were to turn back the clock and a rule that I would have is no cell phones at the table.
Yeah.
And if his friends come over,
Mm-hmm.
I would have a basket that says phone here.
Yeah.
Your phone goes here.
Yeah.
If you're in my house, no smartphones.
Yeah.
And not because I'm afraid
You're
they're
so
going to be on.
strict.
I know. There goes the Valley Girl.
Oh my gosh. Scott's dad is like so mean.
Stop. Stop. Oh. But it's not because I'd be afraid they'd be on their porn behind
Right,
closed
right,
doors.
right.
It's because I want them to interact with each other.
Yes.
And
Yes, that was something that was so fascinating in the book is he talked about like asynchronous communication and synchronous. So like texting is asynchronous because I could text you and then you might text me back tomorrow.
right.
Or email or like social media where
Yeah.
it's not live, but like FaceTime could be considered synchronous.
Yeah. Yep.
But, in person play or conversation or hanging out together would be synchronous. You're doing the same thing at the same time.
At the same
together.
time. Yeah.
And
yeah.
that's so much more healthy for our minds and our spirits.
Yeah. Well, if I text you, say, "Hey Beth, how you doing?" I might get a response right then.
Right.
And I might get a response 2 hours from then.
Right.
Neither one would surprise me.
Right.
But if I'm right face to face with you, "Hey Beth, how you doing?" It's not going to be a 2-hour. It won't be a 2-hour. Well,
Hello.
it'd be a shun, but still. But it wouldn't be a 2-hour wait
Right.
for a response to
Right.
that. And that's what happens so often with the smartphone. It happens with Debbie and me. It happens probably with you and Bruce, and with the girls
Yeah.
certainly, and with
Yeah.
Scott and Steph. It happens all the time.
Yep.
But if we're in the same space, we're responding in real time quickly
Yeah.
to each other. We've lost that.
So you're going on sabbatical.
Yeah.
Last year, I was gifted a sabbatical as
yep.
well. And one of the things I did was I went on some hikes with my husband.
Yeah.
And he hikes where there's no cell service. And let me tell you, it was so refreshing.
Oh, you weren't looking at your phone every
Because why bother?
Why bother?
There's
Yeah.
zero, like nothing.
Yeah.
And so you put your phone away and you're listening to the river and the birds and you're looking up at the sky and
And if there's an emergency, well, they're just going to have to wait.
exactly.
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
So you may want to find some
Oh, I will. Definitely.
non-cell
Yeah.
sites
Yeah. Yeah.
to just recharge your battery. And even as non-digital natives, I
Yeah.
think it's easy to get caught up in the digital.
And and because I'm non-digital, I'm not a native.
Right.
It's still not natural for me to always look at my phone every 5 minutes. I don't. I mean, probably I use my phone mostly to play solitaire
Okay.
and backgammon. I
Yeah.
play a lot of backgammon
Okay.
on my that's pretty much it. I don't go on X
Yeah.
or Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't go on
either.
Facebook very often. Instagram only because I'll see some things about my grandkids.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm just not that connected.
Yeah.
Because you've probably texted me and I might or might not.
Wow, he must be mad at me. He's
No.
not texting me back.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like,
And
that's like your first thought is like, oh my gosh, is he mad? Am I in trouble? Is
yes,
he? Oh.
I am. I'm going to make her pay by not responding, But
No,
I wouldn't do that.
fine. Right. But like imagine being 13 years old.
Yeah. Oh, and relationships are everything,
And relationships are
especially for
everything.
girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you text a friend and they don't text back.
Yeah.
She must hate me.
Yeah.
I guess we're not best friends anymore.
And so from the time that she texts and to the time that she gets a response, which could be an hour, it could be 2 hours, she is training her mind to think I'm not pleasing someone.
Yeah.
Or someone is mad at me.
Yep.
And what kind of a torture is that for a 13-year-old?
It's torture for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and I'm a grown up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. So those are some things that are going to require from us
Mm-hmm.
if we make these adjustments. And
Yeah.
and again, these are suggestions from a man who doesn't know Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think they're really good.
They are good. I think they could easily be translated into church life,
Yes,
private school
yes.
life, anything. Yeah.
But then when we get through his suggestions, we're going to talk a little bit about discipleship.
yeah.
So let's get through his suggestions.
Okay.
Do you want to take the first one?
Sure. Yeah. Haidt gives he's advocating for a new foundation for a healthier childhood. That's what this heading is. And he is suggesting, number one, no smartphones before high school. And parents should delay children's entry into round-the-clock internet access by giving only basic phones before 9th grade.
I appreciated this because as parents,
Yeah.
we didn't have a hard and fast, you getting a cell phone when you turn blah, blah, blah.
Was she in the smartphone? Is she a Gen Zer?
She is
You're
a
Jess?
millennial.
Okay.
She's
all right.
millennial.
Okay.
But she, like in high school, she ended up with an iPhone.
Okay.
At the end of high school.
Yeah.
But our rule was you'll get a cell phone when you need one.
Yeah.
And then you'll start with a flip phone, right?
Which, and I'm not familiar with this, but
you can text or call.
So
That's
there's
it.
no smartphone
There's
component.
no smartphone component.
Oh, okay.
no.
All right.
And now there's all these cool things for young people where it's a watch and they can only call, grandma, grandpa, mom, dad.
Okay.
And that's all.
Yeah.
That's all the thing will do.
Yeah.
So if you have some safety concerns, there are ways
Mm-hmm.
to provide that
Yeah.
without the smartphone
Yeah.
Pandora's box.
Yeah. But I thought that was wise.
Yeah.
I could see that, and I could see the problems that would come for a young person that really wants to be trendy,
Yes.
but no smartphones before high school.
Yeah.
I think that's a smart thing to say.
I think so
to
too.
do.
The next one is no social media before 16. So let kids get through, puberty,
Yeah.
this super vulnerable time
Yeah.
of brain development. And he says before connecting them to a fire hose of social comparison and algorithmically chosen influencers.
Yeah.
Whew. Remember that wet cement,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It gets written on
Yeah.
and it stays there. And the algorithm is so creepy
It is extremely so. Extremely so.
because you talk about something
And it's going to show up.
and you're going to get an ad on Instagram.
yeah.
Or you go shopping for something on your phone and it's going to, or even I heard how, I read this article, it was like New York Times type of thing, where a man went to his mom's house. And so his phone was near her phone. His phone was near her stuff.
Mhm.
And he started getting ads for the kind of toothpaste she used.
Wow.
Creepy.
Yeah.
So we can't control the algorithm.
No.
We can protect ourselves because if you're clicking on things that are inappropriate,
Then guess
then
what?
more inappropriate stuff's going to
Yeah,
show up, right?
yeah.
So you can protect your algorithm, but also you can't control it.
Yeah.
And you're the product
Mm-hmm.
on social media.
Mhm.
You don't pay for it, so
Yeah.
they're selling access to you
Yeah.
or your 13-year-olds.
So no social media before 16.
Yeah.
Would
That's
you?
so hard. That's so
I was going
hard.
to say, this is not easy
No.
because probably I'm guessing I'm not in that. Well, you would know because of what you do for a living. I would say that a child that doesn't have a smartphone by the time they're 16 is a dinosaur.
Yeah.
They're an anomaly.
Yeah.
And so if you were to kind of span your scope of ministry, which involves cradle to 18, I mean, can you guess a percentage of the young people at like the 8, 9, 10-year-olds that have smartphones and full access?
For our families at Arcade Church, for the most part, are really cautious,
Okay.
which I appreciate.
Which is a great community of what we were
It
actually
is,
talking about.
Yep. I have seen kids in the first and second grade classroom pull cell phones out on Sunday morning. There are a few, and I don't know what access. It might just be mom or dad's old phone that
Right.
they take pictures on.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But also kids are smart, remember?
Yeah. And they bring them into class?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just, if a kid has a cell phone, you know what? That needs to stay away the whole time.
Yeah.
But then, what's interesting is we'll find 2 or 3 of them in the bathroom because one of them has brought their cell phone.
Oh, okay.
So
They forget them, or
no, they're on their phone.
they're in the bathroom on the phone.
So let's say Beth brought a cell phone,
Okay.
and Leah and Kelly
Mm-hmm.
are like, ooh,
Yeah.
let's go look at Beth's cell phone. So they congregate in the bathroom together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Kids are smart.
Kids are smart.
As the word says, they're foolish, but
Yes.
they're also smart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 3, phone-free schools. What a novel idea that would be.
Do you know, so Victory Christian School is here in Carmichael.
Yeah.
And they have put some pretty hard rules, especially on the middle schoolers, but also some on the high schoolers too, about cell phones. Like, don't bring them.
Yeah.
Don't bring them to school. We don't want to see them.
Mm-hmm. I applaud that.
I do too.
That's gutsy.
Yep.
But I applaud that.
Yep.
And Haidt just says phone-free schools in all schools from elementary through high school. Students should store their phones, smartwatches, and any personal device that can send or receive texts in phone lockers or locked pouches during the school day. And that is huge. In fact, you found some evidence of that. Why don't you cite that?
This
is a different
was
source.
so interesting. So I was on social media and I found...
Well, you're not 16, so
I'm
you
not
can do
16
that. Yeah.
anymore. I found this... Sorry, I'm trying to get better access to it. So there was a new study of 400 middle schools in Norway. They've banned cell phones. Girls had fewer mental health issues and better grades. Boys and girls were less likely to be bullied.
And that data was gathered in a fairly short period of time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like over the years, but rather within weeks.
Yeah. It has long-term benefits. Bullying was down by 43 to 46%. Girls had 29% fewer visits to their primary care doctor about psychological problems and nearly 60% fewer visits to specialists.
Mm-hmm.
Their mental health and academic gains were greater for schools with stricter policies, especially for girls from socioeconomically disadvantaged families.
Yeah.
So interesting. But then also, I went a little further. I looked up the actual research.
Right.
And there are also non-academic benefits.
Like what?
Research has found that without phones, students exercise more at recess.
Okay.
They burn off energy, fostering physical health, and it promotes later attention in class.
Oh, that makes total sense.
Doesn't that? Because then they're outside, they're playing, they're running, they're burning off their energy, and then they come back to class and they're ready to learn again.
Yeah.
So that was super interesting to me.
So phone-free schools, once again, that probably wouldn't be that popular.
No.
A friend of mine up north was a principal of a high school, and for disciplinary reasons, they confiscated a cell phone from a girl.
Yeah.
And she absolutely went berserk.
Yeah.
And then her parents came in and went berserk.
Yeah.
Because my kid needs a phone. My kid needs a cell phone at school because what if there's a school shooter? And his response, in fact, it was the same response that he gave the example in his book. His response is, if there's a school shooter, the last thing I want your kid to do is call you.
Yeah.
They need to be listening for the teacher
Yeah.
for instructions.
Yeah.
Because they're calling 911. They don't need to call you. They need to listen for instructions on finding safety. And the last thing I want them to do is pick up a phone and call you. And so what possibly could be necessary
Yeah.
And back when you and I were in school, you know what? If we had to call our parents, we went to the office.
Yep.
And we call our parents.
There was a payphone in the lobby of my high school.
Okay.
And the funniest thing was it would often ring at lunch. And it would be somebody who was homesick for the day.
Oh.
Hey, can you get
Yeah.
my girlfriend? Hey,
Yeah.
Sally, Jimmy's on the phone. Is
Yeah,
Sally?
yeah.
You know, and they would have to come and talk to their boyfriend on
Yeah.
the phone at lunchtime.
Yeah. And
What a different world.
it is a different world, but I think that goes back to what we talked about last episode, is that parents they can't even wrap their mind around these days being detached from their kids on certain things. Because even with cell phones, they have to have access to me. They have to have access. Why?
Right.
Why is that? What could possibly happen? A lot of things could possibly happen. Things probably will not happen.
Right.
In fact, I told you, I was up at Corbin University, and the president there, John Mark Yates, he gave some data, and this is nationwide. You know where I'm going with this?
Yes.
Nationwide. And they said, and this is among private as well as public universities, that 8% of graduates,
College graduates.
college graduates who go for a job interview, 8% are accompanied by their parents.
Okay.
8%.
Okay.
I know.
So like a 22 or 23-year-old adult
Yeah.
is taking mommy or daddy
To a job
to
interview.
a job interview
Yeah.
and expecting to get hired.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hire a 16-year-old that brought mommy or daddy for a job interview.
I know.
That's like so.
I know. And I get it. Because I'm that way with my grandkids. Oh man, we gotta protect them. And what that is what you talked about earlier is I'm taking fear as dominating my faith.
Yeah.
Is God sovereign or not?
Yeah.
If he is sovereign, then we can trust him. Yes, we've been entrusted to make sure that our kids are well fed, that they're protected, but our God is far greater at protecting our children than we are.
Yep.
And when we overprotect our children, that is doing damage to them.
It like stunts their
It
growth.
stunts their growth. It stunts their social abilities. It stunts their family life. Also, smartphones creates failure to launch.
Yeah.
And so you've got this persona, this stereotype of a 35-year-old man living in his mom's basement. Well, there's a reason why it's a
I
stereotype.
was going to say,
Yeah.
there's some truth to that.
Yeah, there is some truth to that. And all of these things, when we give our young people these smartphones at too early of an age, it does things that do damage relationally, socially, vocationally,
Yeah.
spiritually for the rest of their lives.
Right. Well, and what was interesting in the book to me was, the play-based childhood, phone-based childhood.
Yeah.
Play-based childhood allows kids to take risks that aren't super dangerous, right? There's this unsupervised play that I'm going to jump off that rock.
Yeah.
Oh, I could do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll jump off a bigger rock. Oh,
And if they get hurt somehow,
I scrape my elbow. Okay, won't jump off that rock anymore.
But if a parent's there, don't jump off any of those rocks.
Right. No. That's
Yeah.
not. Don't jump off. You might get hurt.
Yeah.
Let them jump off the rock for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
So we need to allow our kids to have far more unsupervised play and childhood independence. Now here I said unsupervised play. I'm not talking about t-ball, gymnastics, dance, where there's an adult supervising and organizing and telling the kid what to do. I'm talking about you have a couple kids over and you send them in the backyard.
Yeah.
And if they need help figuring out a problem, well, you might help them.
Yeah.
But maybe you just say, you know what? Why don't you guys try and work that out?
Yeah. I think that's so wise. I want to give a shout out to my daughter-in-law. She is a great mom, and she is a big parks person.
Awesome.
And so, she would take her two kids to the park and play, and there are other kids there, and they learn how to solve problems socially. There probably is a pecking order, but it's not a harmful pecking order.
Right.
And I just love that because they know how to play. They see a park, they know where to go.
Yeah.
It doesn't. We take them to, when they're here, we take them to Eastern Park on Eastern Avenue.
Yeah.
And have you seen their play structure there?
Uh-uh.
Oh, it's amazing.
Really?
It is amazing. And they just love it. They
Yeah.
love climbing. They're high off the ground.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's just, they just really enjoy it
Yeah.
there and stuff.
Well, speaking of parents, I've had the opportunity to take some of our arcade kids out for
Yeah.
frozen yogurt recently.
Yeah, you do that on a regular basis.
Oh my
like-
gosh,
yeah.
it is like such a highlight.
Yeah.
So much fun. But I'm hearing about, 7 and 8-year-olds that know how to bake scones, that know how to ride their bike from home to T-ball practice by themselves. So these are second graders,
Yeah.
right? They help their mom around the house. I mean, they have, and guess what these kids don't have?
Smartphones.
You're right.
Yeah.
They're having childhoods.
And they probably have minimal screen time anyway.
I would think.
Television,
Yeah.
iPads.
These families, yeah.
Yeah. And I think the reward of that is going to be a child that can do problem solving in real
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And the anxiety and depression, self-harm, all that stuff will be non-existent,
Yeah.
I think, in a lot of those families.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's talk about discipleship a little bit.
That's what we're talking about, isn't it?
Because
yeah.
we're saying they're being discipled by their phones,
Yep.
by the video games, by pornography.
Yeah. And that's not even, there are good things on smartphones.
Totally.
But that doesn't mean that you can't filter those things. You
Right.
can't manage those things. Hey, Johnny, only look at good things
Right.
on that. Well, you can only look at GodTube. That's all you can look
Right.
at. Good luck
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
And so, they're being discipled by a culture that doesn't know what they're doing.
Right.
But now we know what they're doing.
Right.
And so I think smartphones require smart parents when it comes to that.
Yes. So as you're hearing this information, I mean, it's kind of startling. I
It
was
is, yeah.
startled by a lot of this
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
I had checks in myself about, okay, how much time am I spending on screens? There are some apps I have time limits on, so I don't,
That you yourself,
on my phone.
you can have a,
You can set time limits on.
really?
Uh-huh. Yep.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Probably like news. Are they news type things?
Sure. Of course. Wouldn't be a game I play on my phone or Instagram or no. Now you're embarrassing me, Pastor Craig. Call me out.
Because you're kind of a news junkie, and so I thought
Yes,
it might be that.
But I've kind of weaned myself off the news a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Like, it should be called the bad news.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah,
exhausting.
Yeah.
No, but I have set. I took a long break from social media.
Right.
From like October to March,
Mm-hmm.
considering taking another one, or even like a week. Like, okay, I'm going to remove Instagram and re-upload it every other day,
Right.
or only on Sunday and Monday, or because
Right.
I mean, part of it, my job is uploading
Yeah.
things to Instagram.
You've got a really positive presence on Instagram. You do with the arcade
Thank
kids and
you.
stuff.
Thank
It's really
you.
good.
Trying.
Really good.
That's what I'm trying. Like,
Yeah.
okay, if I have access to these parents, how do I disciple them so they can disciple their
Yep.
kids,
Yep.
right? So that's our goal with our arcade kids Instagram. But I want us to think about, as adults, our hearts are being discipled, and then when we give our young people access to smartphones, the internet, video games, etc., that's going to disciple them.
Well, yes. Can I
Yeah.
share a pet peeve of mine?
Oh, sure.
I think
Yes.
on planet Craig, which everyone should live on. Thank you. I think every churchgoer should leave their smartphone in the car. And when they come to Sunday gathering, they come with a hard copy Bible,
Yeah.
because that really is the best way to learn your
Yep,
Bible,
it
is
is.
to see.
There's evidence of that.
There's
That like
evidence.
the physical book
Yeah, yeah.
is different
Yeah.
than digital.
And I would say this. I would think that your department should reward children that bring hard copy Bibles somehow. Give them a piece
Oh,
of
we know how
candy.
to reward kids.
Yeah, I bet you do. And I think, because as I'm preaching, it's kind of dark,
Yeah.
and some people might be on their devices with the scripture, but they're getting notifications. And I'm guessing they don't swipe those notifications. They go to the notification. because maybe they're bidding on something on eBay or maybe something on Amazon or whatever. I mean, I've been around.
Or their
and-
favorite influencer posted something on
Exactly, yeah.
Instagram.
And I just think that. I think that parents should model that for their kids, but they should leave their smartphones at home or in the car.
So are you
And-
issuing a challenge to Arcade Church?
Sure, I would do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Bring your hard copy Bible.
Bring your Bible.
Bible, because that's the book for me.
That's right.
And bring that. Leave the smartphone in the car.
Yeah.
It's accessible.
Yep.
Or at home, which is less accessible, but probably better.
Unless you have a kid that we need to text you to come get them.
Oh, so we need to have smartphones.
Some parents do.
You are no help.
Those parents know
I
who they are.
can't. I can't.
Okay, if you're the Smiths, the Jones, and the Hardingers, please keep your phone
Well,
with
no,
you
we've
because
got
Johnny's really naughty.
in the sanctuary, we've
No,
got
but
those
that's
numbers.
that's for like preschool and nursery,
Oh,
not for
okay,
elementary.
okay.
All
All right.
or
Well-
just tell us where you're sitting, and then we'll just come get you.
That would really be fun. Hey, get your kid. Anyway,
Sorry,
there-
I kind of hijacked that.
You did hijack that, Beth. But that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. And so in that case, leave your smartphone accessible, but don't use it.
Right.
Have your hard copy Bible in front
Did
of
you know if you have an iPhone,
Mm-hmm.
you can customize your Do Not Disturb? Do Not Disturb.
Yeah.
So you can make it so, like I have one where only Bruce and Sarah's texts come through.
Okay.
So like if I'm really
You don't have when my text comes through?
So-
I thought we were friends. Fine. That's why it takes you days to respond to my text.
Craig, this is my special Craig Do Not Disturb.
Yeah. Yes.
Any text from Craig blocked.
Block it.
No, but like even on Sunday morning, you could make it so like only my or Yelena's texts came
Yeah.
through.
Right.
And so then you know if you're getting a notification, it's about Johnny
Yeah.
and you need to come take care of
Yeah.
something.
That makes sense. I didn't know that, and that's a good feature.
Yeah.
Probably other smartphones do too, not just
Yeah,
the
I have
iPhone.
no idea. Just
Yeah.
know that like on the iPhone, you can
Yeah.
you can customize your Do Not Disturbs specifically. And
Yeah.
then you turn it on and then only those certain people will text.
Okay, that's
text will
good.
come
That's
through.
good.
Yeah. So the challenge is bring your
Hard
your
copy.
Bible and use
Bring
it.
your Bible.
And kids, bring your Bibles. If kids at Arcade Church bring their Bibles, we'll come up with something that they get.
Yeah, good. I
love it.
appreciate that.
I love that.
Yeah,
We do have some kids that bring them, which I love.
yeah,
I love.
yeah.
So, Pastor Craig,
Yes.
what are we beholding?
We are beholding. Well, I think it goes back to what you were talking about earlier about discipleship.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about the minds, mainly of children and young people.
Yeah.
And the Bible has a lot to say
Yeah.
about the mind.
Mhm.
Set your mind on things above, like Paul says in
Yeah.
Colossians. Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world. So how do we not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind? We really are talking, I mean, there's a reason why it's called mental health
Yeah.
issues.
It's your mind.
It's your mind. And what is going on, what is happening is that the rise of smartphones has decreased children at play,
Yeah.
but increased incredible behaviors and thoughts that start in their mind. And let's face it, our minds are already, because of sin, they're already sinful.
Yes.
And when we have these smartphones that are so smart, they outsmart us. And they are molding and shaping our children's minds. And let's face it, adult
Ours.
minds as
Mhm.
well.
Yep.
They're in a way that does not move us towards Christ.
Right.
And so Paul is saying transformation comes by renewing of the mind. And the only way I know that renewing of my mind can happen is when I pray, gather with other believers, and read the word.
Yeah.
That's been going on for a couple thousand years. It seems to
Yes,
work.
It seems to work.
And it still will work, and it will
Mhm.
continue to work in your family, in your individual. And that's the grace that God has given us. He's given us this joy and made himself accessible
Mhm.
through the word, through prayer, and through fellowship.
Well, what I like to do when I read Romans 12, 1 and 2,
Okay?
the first word is therefore,
Yeah.
and therefore is there for
There
a
for a
reason.
reason. Yeah.
So let me read the first
Yeah.
few,
There you go.
the last few verses of Romans 11.
Yes, please.
Oh, the depth of the riches of the wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable his judgments and his paths beyond tracing out. Who has known the mind of the Lord, or who has been his counselor? Who has ever given to God that God should repay them? For from him and through him and for him are all things. To him be the glory forever. Therefore, renew your minds.
Yeah.
Offer your body as a living
Yeah.
sacrifice.
Yeah.
Offer your mind as a living sacrifice.
Great bridge for that.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right. Well, parents and grandparents.
Well, I would say this too.
Yeah.
You know, let us know. Let us know if you have other suggestions, and we'll use
Oh,
those
yeah.
in future podcasts or whatever. That some things that you do as parents to help your children navigate through smartphone hell,
Yeah.
and find out what those are, because we didn't talk about them all. We just used
No.
Height's suggestions, added some of our own, but no doubt you were doing some things we would love to hear. And you can go to Behold, what is it? Behold at arcade.com.
Yeah.
Arcade Church.
Yeah. Send us an email.
Yeah.
Behold at arcadechurch.com.
Behold at
Yeah.
arcadechurch.com.
We'd love to hear from you. And if you completely disagree with us,
Which you might.
yeah,
Yeah.
email us. We want to hear from you. We want this to be not just a two-way conversation,
Yeah.
but we want to include you in the
Yeah.
conversation as well.
Mhm.
In the meantime, offer your bodies and your minds as a living sacrifice. He's worthy of it.
Yes.
Until next time, take care.
See ya.